as I'm making this video on November 9th, there has been some talk about the issue of irregularities of cheating and fraud, but ironically enough, this is more coming from the Democrats than everything else. In fact, Rachel Maddow, in her own segment about 2 days ago, mentioned how supposedly Donald Trump said he doesn't need anyone's votes. We have the votes we need. Never mind the context behind that. Intentionally sowing seeds in regards to the legitimacy of the 2024 election. Funnily enough, I thought not only was that illegal, but that was undemocratic as well as un-American. Don't believe me? That was the mainstream media. That was the Democratic Party. That was the rhinos that said this 4 years ago. But now suddenly they managed to change their own tune. Now, I really want to address something. Was there shenanigans? Was there irregularities and stuff like that? Yeah, there was. But I want to clarify something because a lot of people are probably going to be confused at this. It was more shenanigans in regards that favor the Democrats and against the Republicans. Here's a few examples. In Michigan, just about a week or so ago, before the election on November 5th, it was found that there were over 140,000 duplicate ballots in the state of Michigan, and apparently, thankfully, they were found that quickly and they were not counted. But still, nonetheless, 140,000 in the state of Michigan, and it happens to be in the battleground state. In the state of Pennsylvania, the most important state to win in the 2024 election, there was an issue. I can't remember if it was in there were actually two counties in York County. I think it was York County. There was an issue with the machines there, to the point where they didn't work and they needed to get new flash drives. That sounded very familiar in 2020, where a lot of these machines supposedly broke down. It happened in Arizona, it happened in Georgia, and I'm pretty sure it did happen in Pennsylvania. And again, this was back in 2020. And then it happened again in 2024. And coincidentally, this was in a Republican-leaning county. It happened in a Republican-leaning county. Now, thank God they decided to issue paper ballots instead to continue the vote, which honestly begs the question, why didn't they just do the paper ballots in the first place? They could have prevented this all from the very beginning. But I'm just saying, there's an issue there. And then there's the issue of Lancaster County, also a Republican-leaning county, where just days before there was early in-person voting, and pollsters not only were being turned away, but apparently the pollsters that were allowed to remain there were turning away voters. Many of them were actually in line. In fact, there was a video where one person actually was in line at 1:30, and specifically the polls, at least for the day, were supposed to close. It was either 4 or 4:30 p.m. I can't recall correctly with that, but they were still being told to leave. But thank God there was a judge that came in and said that this was completely ridiculous, and as a result, they allowed for the extension of early in-person voting. And then there were containers full of ballots that somehow managed to appear in places like Wayne County and Philadelphia County. Keep in mind, just to let you guys know, Wayne County has Detroit, and it's a very Democratic-leaning part of the state of Michigan. While Philadelphia County, well, I'm pretty sure you can guess with that. And those were just the two. Just the two. And of course, we're having a major issue here. I wish I was in Arizona, actually. In fact, I could actually be doing a little bit more help with Arizona. But unfortunately, I'm in Washington. But with Arizona, Donald Trump has a lead of 7%. And yet, for some reason, Gallego, who happens to be the Democratic candidate for the Senate in the state of Arizona, is winning. And according to Decision Desk HQ, as I'm making this at 9:49 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, they have called the race for Gallego. Keep in mind, the state of Arizona has been counting for over 4 days. Hell, even today, they just announced Arizona, the 11 electoral votes towards Donald Trump. And yet, for some weird reason, Kari Lake is the one that loses. In spite of the fact that Donald Trump has such a major surge. In fact, many people calculated that what was needed for Donald Trump to win Arizona, myself included, was he needed to win the state by 4 to 5%, and yet he won it by 7%. And yet somehow Kari Lake is losing. And here's the thing about that. It's coincidentally happening in the county we have all heard before, which is Maricopa County. And, of course, it happens to be against Kari Lake. Now, they're just going slow with their ballots and then just coincidentally not giving enough ballots to Kari Lake, even though that they overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump in this election, which, again, begs the question, what the hell is going on with Arizona, and why is it taking 4 fucking days to count these ballots? Seriously, Pennsylvania managed to call it within a few hours. And I know people talk about my birth state of Florida, with it being shit and all that, but literally, they called that state as well on election day. Why can't Arizona? It's just frustrating. Not even, and that's not the only thing. There's also a issue of possible bias, especially in regards to the counting of ballots against Kari Lake in Maricopa County, because Stephen Richer, who happens to be in charge of the counting of votes in Maricopa County, specifically said, and this is thanks to dang it, I forgot the guy's name. He used to run Project Veritas before it went under due to their own due to them firing the guy. I forgot his name. It's leaving my mind. I'm sorry about that, but thanks to that guy, we learned that Stephen Richer, who again is in charge of counting in the votes of Maricopa County, said, "I am going to make life hell for Kari." And this is the guy who's counting the ballots. And somehow there is nothing wrong with that. Not kind of like how there was nothing wrong with the fact that Katie Hobbs somehow managed to inch ahead while Kari Lake was not only ahead of polls, she was extremely popular with the people of Arizona. And the fact that she broke the Constitution of the state of Arizona, where she did not vacate the Secretary of State, where she was allowed to be able to influence the election. Yeah, there is just so much shit going on within Arizona that I just cannot believe. And that's just the very bottom. This is the tip of the iceberg that I'm mentioning all of this. I really hope that Kari Lake does manage to defy expectations, and even that's not the case. She gets into a lawsuit, hopefully wins, and even if that's not the case, gets a position within the upcoming Trump administration. But nonetheless, even in spite of that, there is obvious shenanigans, obvious manipulation with the electoral system. Had to forget about the fact that in comparison to 2020, the Democrats had a drop of a minimum 13 million votes in comparison to 2020. To the point where people on Reddit have actually questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election. Far left Reddit is questioning 2020 now as a result of Kamala Harris losing a minimum 13 million votes. I even heard it as high as 15 to 20 million, but I think it's around 13 to 15, but still. That's kind of putting a damper in things, isn't it? And now a lot of people are probably going to call for more election integrity laws, which I really pray to God that's the case. Because it's funny, I agree with the Democrats at this point in time. There is an issue with our elections. But what I don't agree with them on this is that the issues in regards to elections favor them, surprisingly enough. But then again, I'm talking about the Democrats. They said before, especially with 2020, that it's the most secure election in history. The most secure, and we're just a bunch of conspiracy theorists who are just talking out of our ass for some reason. I mean, don't listen to me. I'm just a regular YouTuber who likes to talk about politics and shit like that, and maybe is trying to rebrand himself to go into history. Kind of, maybe I'm actually thinking of maybe acting like Countacula for a moment, but still, I'm just a regular YouTuber. Don't listen to me or anything like that. I mean, after all, it's as the mainstream media said. Our elections are the most secure they have ever been. But the reality is, I pretty much doubt it. I'm pretty sure that there is irregularities, and again, as I said before, they're in their favor. Nonetheless, there needs to be an investigation that goes on. We need to clean this shit up. If we truly have a free and fair election, we need to look at the ballots closer. We need to look at them to see if they're legitimate or not. And another thing that I forgot to mention. In Nevada, the state Supreme Court allowed for ballots who have been marked their dates of when they've been sent to be counted. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Fucking wonderful. But, again, who am I to say that? I'm just a regular American citizen who's just trying to report the facts, as well as many of the issues in regards to our elections. I'm just a concerned guy in this regard. Take that for what you will. I really do hope that when you take from this, is that we do need to fix our election system. My name is Domi Hanley, The Dark Truth. Please post your comments down below, like the video, subscribe, and share with friends. Also, if you have any issues in regards to my videos, such as my improv or whatever, maybe even my camera, please post in the comment section down below or directly message me. Thank you.
West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.